Well, hello and welcome everyone to American Scouser TV's first post-match show in the slot era. And what a way to begin with an actual clean sheet, which we haven't seen in a long time. And I have a little trivia to play in a little bit, but I welcomed with Sir Z today. Sir Z, I know you did the pre-match show, so we're happy to see you again. How are you doing after the game?
Good. I thought it was going to be a more exciting game, but we won and we kept a clean sheet, so that's good.
Yeah, and so just out of just curiosity's sake, I was going to ask, when was the last time Liverpool FC had a clean sheet?
Against Wolves, home game, last home game.
Oh wait, that's right. Never mind.
2-0. Yeah.
I meant before that. I apologize. For some reason, I skipped right over that as I was looking back through the fixtures, and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Before that, it was actually the Atalanta game at home, 18th of April. So yes, it's nice to see the big old zero next to the club that isn't our own. Overall, I think you alluded to it. Not a whole lot of excitement. I mean, it's these kinds of games we typically don't expect a lot. You know, it's a lot of senior players sort of just going through another training session, if you will, and a lot of younger players trying to show their place within the team. I think the second half, it looked a little bit more cohesive, probably because those young kids have been playing with each other in the academy, right?
Yeah.
So
It's the youngsters look good. It was quite exciting to see when they all came on. It was a little bit kind of drab when the first teamers or regular first teamers were on. But when the youngsters came on, the game kind of picked up a bit.
Yeah, you could definitely see I think the nice thing about what we were seeing too was sort of the fluidity behind the system, and I think we had a few glimpses as to what we will expect in the slot era. And speaking of the senior players on our team, Timothy,
You are such an ass.
I am back in form, baby. That really wasn't, again, it was meant to be a kind way to bring you in because you are one of the more experienced members of this team.
Mature.
Yes, and senior in the sense that you've just been doing this part of it a lot longer than us. It's not anything about actual age, just like it is out on the field. So
Thank you.
So welcome.
Welcome. That was fun. I was a bit late. I was ordering my Neoni jersey. That kid definitely looks good, right? I mean, that was really, really nice to see. I mean, obviously the Curtis part was not good, but that was really impressive to see. Some good stuff, some stuff that makes you go, but aside from that, yeah, it was a nice, easy, fun watch. I mean, I thought, when we forecasted the scores or predictions or whatever, we all thought it would be a lot more open, clumsy game defensively. It looked almost like they must have been watching the Euros. It felt really cagey, and nobody wanted to be, everybody wanted to do solid defense first and work on the other stuff. Either looked like.
Yeah, but solid defense is definitely the foundation of a good team. And Cersei, it felt like, we have some bits and pieces here that aren't going to be regular first team. Kwanzaa, you could argue, could be first team. Vandenberg most likely not. Connor Bradley, the jury's still out on whether or not he's going to have that position there with Trent coming back. And then obviously Costas is not going to have the starting role on the left side. But overall, defensively, they looked all right.
No, they did. Especially as Endo did everything he could to self-destruct. Defensively, I think no one really did anything wrong. Even when Jaros came on, he looked like a good, confident keeper. It's the first time I've seen him play. Like I said, I think once the youngsters all came on, it was like a different game. It was like a little bit more pep around the pitch. It was. But defensively, I think everything just goes back to Slot admiring Guardiola, and I think he's gonna, if he can solidify that defense and build on a clean sheet every game, we'll be in a good place.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to win games when you don't have to fight back from being down 1-0 all the time. So, Timothy, let's go over to you. As far as kind of, I know in the pre-match how we've been talking, we pretty much are watching these preseason games to get a sense of what this team might look like. Not all the pieces are here, but the system is here, right? And so, what did you see? I mean, I'll say I saw some interesting fluidity. It sort of looked like a 4-2-4 at some times, where I feel like a really young Bobby would have flourished in this kind of system. Like, I'm just thinking about putting Firmino in there and just having him go wild. But what did you take? Did you have any strong takeaways from what you saw this game? Or, I mean, obviously we need some more time still to see, but do you think there's anything that you could take away?
I think you see a lot of, all this homework I've been doing with Feyenoord. I mean, you can kind of see that there's a lot of overcrowding in midfield. There's a lot of, a lot of short passes in midfield, building very tight spaces. And then I was mainly looking at what Bradley's positioning is. It's very fluid in terms of where people are. I mean, you saw several times like Kwanzaa almost like driving into the box, and that was not after a corner or something like that. And you look at Bradley's positioning, which will probably be Trent's positioning. That's almost like not just an inverted fullback, but at times it almost becomes like a midfielder. And that was interesting to see. But having seen all what we're looking at here, it's also easy to see what players don't really fit this. And, like Serzi was talking about Endo, like having seen this now, and obviously we only watched 45 minutes and things could be different, but players' skill set is not going to change overnight, especially when they're old. And I think, this does not suit Endo at all. That ball has to move fast. It has to be accurate. You have to be able to, your first touch has to be good. That ball has to move really fast in there to create those openings, and then you ping one over the top. And I really think we've been talking about defensive midfield. I think that position right there is McAllister's. It's very suited for him in terms of being able to move the ball fast, win the ball, and then ping it over the top. Everything you want is in McAllister. We were talking about earlier this morning. That's like one thing I noticed. Some players will fit this. I don't know if other players will. And that's kind of, I'm sure Slot is thinking the same thing as he, practices what they're trying to do on the pitch.
Yeah. And player that seemed to slot in pretty nicely. We're going to have a lot of those this year. James, welcome to the post-match show. Trey Neone, Ballon d'Or 2025. Might be a little too late. He still could be 2024, in my opinion. But yeah, a really impressive debut. We're not going to call it a debut for real because we've seen little minutes before. But as far as the preseason goes and extended minutes go, I personally can't think of a youngster that had quite as solid of a 50 to 60 minutes as we saw with Trey. Serzi, I don't know. Maybe I think not since Raheem Sterling, might I say, that we've seen something like this.
I think Trent, when Klopp's first preseason, Trent really impressed during that preseason. He's got, and he only got all the attributes. He just looks so skinny. I just feel like the Premier League is just going to eat him up. So he definitely needs to bulk up. I think it's one of them players that we bring on if we're hosting a game. Obviously, definitely, your cup games, the weaker Champions League games, and bring him on. But yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think they gave him 98 because that's how many pounds he weighs. Archie is joining us this post-match. Howdy, Archie. Thanks for joining. And James, can't go into the new season without a new six. Real Sociedad Zubimendi would work in a system similar to what we played today. And I know, I think in the Discord, someone might have mentioned Zubimendi's name before.
Yes.
And I know, like I've had some names in my head. I think like Enzo Lefebvre would have worked out really well, but he just made his move. So I guess, Timothy, back to your point about McAllister, and this is sort of touching back on what we've talked about this summer. And a lot of the conversations we're having right now are going to be difficult to have because we just don't know. There's a lot of unknown. But do you think that there is a necessary transfer needed for that kind of player if it happens to be McAllister, if it happens, if it works out, if we can get the most out of those guys to work there? Or do you think we really do need to go get someone?
I think it really depends on, like how how much they trust Bicetic, because I feel like, he suits that in terms of winning the ball and playing fast. Like, playing fast is the key thing. I mean, that's one, like, going back to Neoni, for example, that's what I really liked about him. I mean, we talk about his physical. He's 17. He does look like Trent's early days, like really skinny and stuff. But he has height, look like, because when he was like lining up for that corner, defending like that set piece or whatever we were doing, he's not like a tiny kid. But what he does is he plays the ball really fast before the player even can get close to him. That ball is released. He knows where he's going to go with the ball before the ball even comes to him. And that's a huge plus, and that's what you need in this midfield. And looked like he was very fast with the ball. So, but in this midfield, it looks like you will need players that's going to play fast, be able to have a good technical ability to be able to control fast and move on fast. You don't want, I mean, we were talking about, I think, this morning, even like a Fabinho. Like, it's not just a bruiser that's going to cut. If you're building play the way we're building, you do need somebody who's going to be good on the ball. And that's why, man, I don't know. McAllister seems like a good fit there. I don't know if Gravenberg would be a good fit there, because there's so much fluidity in terms of like how people shifted between like 6 and 8 and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like, probably the biggest negative aside from the injury is I just don't see Endo being able to do what we want from that position. I mean, I don't know if it will change. He just had a bad game, but the way he has to control the ball, like, he plays a lot slower. He is more, I guess, in terms of like Fabinho-like, and not less technical on the ball. He is good when he cuts a pass and then plays that one-time pass. But the way we were building pass with quick passes and then kind of like swinging it suddenly either over the top or like diagonal, I just don't know if that's a good fit. I do agree with James. I mean, if we're not really sold on like Bicetic being reliable, if you're going to get somebody, it will probably be for that position.
Yeah, and he goes on to say that not a great game today, but nothing against Endo. Just feel need a bigger squad, especially with 8 Champions League group games. Klopp always liked the smaller squad. Wonder if Slot is the same. Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell until we start getting deeper into those competitions to see exactly what Slot is like. Also have Liverpool videos joining us. I keep wanting to say this morning because 98% of the time that we're on this show, it's in the morning. But this evening, saying all he has to say is Trey Neoni. Remember the name. I think we are all a bit excited about Trey. And Archie here, thoughts on our defensive play. It looked rough in the first half, but it improved. Obviously hard to judge fairly given who wasn't there. And I think we did touch upon that in the first couple minutes of the show. I think overall it sort of felt, I don't know, tidy, if you will, if that's the right word to use, Serzi. I feel like, it just wasn't, besides that Elliott ball that he played back to Yarosh in the beginning of the second half, there really weren't a lot of defensive mishaps or overthinking, if you will. It was very simple defensive work, and that's probably what was asked of them.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the biggest concerns are really up front. I know we're missing a whole bunch of players. I think Carvalho, I know it's hard to say on one game, but I think it's pretty much cemented him leaving. I don't think he offered anything other than just the whining and moaning. And I can see why Klopp didn't like him. Elliott, his work rate was excellent. He gave it. Szoboszlai, I'm still on the offensive. Yeah, he scored a great goal, but other than that, a couple of good touches like that. That's not enough to play 90, 95 minutes in a Premier League game. It's, he's really got to pull his socks up there. And I think Bickler was saying as well on Discord, like Salah looks, he's starting to show his lack of pace, which is a bit concerning.
Yeah, I was going to ask, we were talking about speed before. It was about 10 minutes ago. I was going to then, kind of flip it over to Salah, seeing how, it is just preseason. It could be just the first game and they're not up to speed as much as you would like them to be. But there are certain things that you could see in a preseason game that translate over to just real game time things. And speed it can be one of them. So Timothy, did you see this? Did you see the same thing as far as Salah's speed is concerned, or do you think this is just, it's just a glorified training session? He's not going to necessarily go as all out as he would need to.
That could be part of it. I mean, you don't need like a track team up top either. I mean, if you have Nunez and Diaz there, you can check off your speed box in terms of your front line, right? I mean, you have the speed. I mean, one thing with Carvalho today is he did make a lot of runs that never got seen. Like, You'll Never Walk Alone family is saying, I think he made those runs and he did not get the ball. But you got to keep making those runs. And more importantly, you got to stop pouting when you do not get the ball. You will not always get the ball. The professional performance would be professional if you're not whining about it and, overreacting about it afterwards. That would be professional. Keep doing it is good work ethic, maybe. But I'm not going to call it professional when you kind of look like a brother out there sometimes. And that's what I don't like about his body language. I don't know if I can blame him because he is playing out of position. And I will be probably semi-upset already as I get on the pitch when, for example, Elliott is playing where it suits Elliott more in some ways. Whereas, you're playing in a position that you probably, why doesn't Szoboszlai play here? So I can play Szoboszlai is playing and stuff is what he can be thinking. I mean, we were talking about it, I think, in the pre-match too. Like, is he there to actually really show himself, or is he there because if he wasn't there, who was going to play today? Because we're missing a lot of players and we're kind of opening the market for him. And then he does have the tendency to try to show himself and stuff like that. I really want the kid to succeed. But I don't know what it is. Every time I watch him, I get this like a petulant, spoiled. Like, I just don't know what it is. But that's the vibe I get from him, and that's why I just don't see him staying. That's not. I mean, Diaz today, first of all, would be a lot more effective because he has, and maybe he would get the ball because people would have more trust in him to use his strength and speed to get that ball. So maybe that's one. And two, he's going to keep making that run and not make a freaking face. And that's the difference. And if Diaz is not making a face, who's guaranteed, who's Colombia's star, he's probably your starting left wing guaranteed in most cases, you can afford to as you try to earn a spot in the roster. That's, I guess, that's why I take it's kind of like I don't like that.
It very much seems like Fabio Carvalho is the kind of guy who growing up was always told that he was kind of the next big thing, a really special player. And it got so much into his head that by 17, 18 years old, he's thinking, well, I am the shit. I don't know why no one else sees this. I am.
And it's never his fault when he's not.
Right.
I mean, it was Klopp's fault. It was Leipzig's fault. It's never his fault when it doesn't pan out.
Gordo joining us this evening, saying he could be being asked to bottle it for bursts throughout the game as he ages. Klopp style would burn him out quickly. I don't know if that's.
I think it's about
Mo. Mo. Yes, I was like, wait a minute, because that where we're going. Couple comments here about Endo, Darwin the GOAT. Welcome. Bicetis should start over Endo. And Cody False 9, sorry, but go ship Endo back to Bundesliga and get a freaking proper CDM. I think that's a bit harsh. This is also, it's still preseason, you guys. Let's pump the brakes a bit. If Endo wasn't on this team last year, Lord knows how much worse it could have been, and we would have never gotten that amazing 4-3 Fulham game. So you guys can just quiet down on the Endo hate for right now. I think there was also
like you're the old teacher trying to class on the like, stop throwing stuff.
Give everyone their damn flowers that they deserve. And I wanted to highlight this one as well. Lucho Magic, Trey Neone, our 16-year-old, played better than Jones. I also think that's unfair because when Jones was in, I think he had a pretty neat game. There wasn't anything excellent. There wasn't anything terrible, though. It was just nice and tidy. Again, I think that's the word that I'll use to describe the game the most is just tidy.
Yep. And he played with Endo, so
yeah,
that
and I think Serzi is just sick of any Curtis Jones talk. I don't know what Serzi's feelings on Curtis Jones is, but based on the disconnection, I don't know if it's very high. But yeah, I don't know. How did you feel about Curtis in the 28, 29 minutes we got today?
I mean, I thought he was fine. Like you say, he was next to Endo, so suddenly he becomes that guy that's like the only guy. I think one big thing that Neone had was, especially in the second half and stuff, I mean, he did use that space a lot better. That's what I like about Neone. He does not want to keep the ball, so you don't catch him on the ball as much as Jones does. I realize it's all about possession, but to keep possession, you don't have to keep the ball yourself. Your team has to keep the ball. So I feel like, that's what Neoni did it a lot better compared to Curtis Jones. But I thought Curtis was fine when he was in there. I mean, I didn't say, like, what is Curtis doing? Yeah. I actually thought this system probably suits Curtis. I don't know. I was so like, the student doesn't fit Endo so many times that Curtis was kind of like an afterthought until he got injured. And I was like, shit, he jinxed himself.
Yeah. And Football Flashback joining us. Hey, boys. Put on a bet tonight that we will sign a DM. Shirley Slot saw that Endo shouldn't start games, not if we want to challenge Rice and Rodri at City and Arsenal. I don't think it's about challenging Rice and Rodri at City and an Arsenal. I think it's going to be more so about how you break down that entire midfield as a whole. And again, I don't know what we expected from Slot given the players that he has to choose from. I mean, you're not going to start Bajcetic. Like, look, guys, the kid is coming off a major injury. We have no idea what he's going to look like. We have no idea what his stamina is going to be like, what he's going to be feeling. So there was really no one else to put in that position to start today. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and he's your natural number 6. He's probably your only like actual number 6 aside from Bajcetic, right? So you are going to put him there. And hey, look, Endo is not a bad player. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying we should get a defensive midfielder because Endo, did poorly today. As I watch the game and as I watch how we play, I am just getting that sense that it does not suit him. He's not going to be able to play like that. I'll tell you another player that I worry about, aside from being able to do the over-the-top runs. I don't know if Nunez's like first touch and ball control and stuff is going to be good on this system. When you mentioned Bobby, I mean, yes, I almost feel like this is a better system to have Jota, for example, in the middle over there, or Gakpo in the middle over there. Somebody who's good on the ball, who can kind of like either drop it or turn or do a give and go and stuff like that. I worry about his, like Nunez's first touch when he does this. You kind of saw with like Szoboszlai at times even. But having said that, it would be nice to have, as we're overcrowding the midfield and doing those short passes, it would be great to have, Diaz and Nunez and Mo making those runs behind and have the quality on the ball like McAllister and Jones and Szoboszlai and stuff to chip that ball over that back line.
All these guys acting like Endo was or is supposed to be world-class 6. Where is this coming from? Yeah, that's why I think everything is unfair. We knew what we were getting with him. We've seen what we will get from him, and there will be moments that he will fit. And right now, I think it's just some more unfortunate growing pains as we try to adapt to this brand new system that we're seeing come in. But yeah,
let me ask you guys this, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I don't know why, but in the beginning, in the first half, there's a conscious effort to play really fast, right? Like, put the ball down and start right away. And, like just play really fast, really fast, really fast. Press when we need to. He was pushing the press. He was making, forcing, Slot is running to make them the overlaps and stuff. Why did we not do that? Or why was that not an emphasis when the kids were in there? Because it was almost like we were milking the clock the last 30 minutes. And it's not to keep the thing, but why don't we try to do that with the seconds? Like the people we want to look at to see if they can do what we want to do as well. I don't know if you guys noticed it. I was like, why are we taking 30 seconds for a kickoff now, whereas we were just putting it down and kicking it in the 5th minute?
I think like when we first started, I think a lot of the fast build-up was more like muscle memory. Like 7 years of playing under Klopp, and a lot was like muscle memory, and he was like just forcing the issue. And I think that's why the game was a little bit disjointed. I think with the kids, when they came on, it seemed like they enjoyed the game a little bit more, and they did slow it down. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Is it's just hard to put your finger, like hard to put my finger on like why it happened. It just seemed like the kids just enjoyed the game more though.
Yeah, I don't have an exact answer for the change in that as well. I think maybe part of it is the way that they've been brought up in the academy playing together for all those years. It's sort of easy sometimes to revert to something that you're comfortable doing in times of uneasiness or nervousness or anxiety. You just go back to what you grew up doing. And I think for a moment that could be what was going on, because they only knew one style of play up until a couple months ago. So it'll be, but you could also argue on the flip side that a kid is much easier to mold into this new form a lot quicker than teaching an old dog new tricks, if you will, right? Where you have the older guys that have been there to play the certain way that they have. I was going to also say, but yes, I brought this up. Thank you. Smash that thumbs up, guys. If you are new to this, thank you for coming along. Please give us a like, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you come check out our content. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, Monday night, Thursday night, and post-match, pre-match, and then some in-betweens. And on August 10th and 11th, we are doing a 24-hour podathon where we will be having a wonderful, wonderful time with our 3 head honchos in Timuchin, Galley, and Bickler. In being up there for about 24 hours, you get to talk and have the time of your lives and see some of us go in and out as we chat everything to do about anything. Did you have something to say there, Timuchin? Please.
No, I mean, it's a scary environment and it's experience for everyone involved, but the cause is really good, and that's why we're kind of doing it. So I'm willing to deal with Galley and Bickler for the benefits of the Jamie Carragher Foundation. I am willing to put up with Bickler and Galley for 24 hours straight. So if that is not commitment to the cause, I don't know what it is. But yeah, I mean, we're looking for sponsors for like hours. You can sponsor an hour by making a donation. And then we are looking for donors for the silent auction. You see some of those items that are actually donated by the foundation for us to auction off. We also have some items being donated by our followers and stuff like that. But yeah, if you have an item, a jersey, whatever you have that you feel like another Liverpool fan would want and bid on, so that money can go to the Jamie Carragher Foundation. They do great stuff. I mean, I think this is kind of going to be our theme. We do want to make this like an annual thing, number one. And number two, last time we did it was with the Save the Children organization. So I think doing things for kids is our way to go over here. And the Jamie Carragher Foundation does a lot. I mean, they're donating to hospitals and stuff like that. So help us out. Chip in, tune in, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff.
It's an absolutely great cause. And another question here from one of our viewers on YouTube. Question for you guys. What did you make of Tyler Morton, and could he be the answer for DM? Seeing Stefan and Endo have to fight for DM. Gomez can play CDM too. He's our new Mr. Reliable, taking over duties from Millie. Shake of heads from both Timuchin and Serzi. Serzi, go ahead. The floor is yours.
No. No.
Just cut it down.
Just no. Like Morton, no, is too inexperienced for it. Gomez, yeah, Mr. Reliable, but no, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be my starting CDM. No, if you don't buy one, then yeah, give it to Maka or Batic. Like even Gravenberch maybe, but no to the rest of them.
I just don't think it fits. I mean, if we're gonna do Gomez, you'll just stick with Endo. At least it's his natural position, and you can save Gomez for right back, left back, center back, kind of an ordeal. I just don't. I love Gomez. Again, he's not going to be fast on the ball. This build-up style, we're going off of one game. Let's underline that, right? We're going under one game, but it definitely suits everything I watched the other night for like freaking 3 hours straight somehow. So it does fit it. I was like, holy cow, we're doing it. Like exactly what I saw in those videos, the breakdown of like how Feyenoord builds up and stuff like that. We're doing it. And that requires somebody really good on the ball and somebody who can ping the long ball pass, step up, push up, almost like an 8 when the time comes, win the ball, and then make quick passes in tight spaces. I just described you, McAllister.
So where do you guys think Trent fits into this?
Trent is the right back.
He's the right back, yeah.
So back the heck off. No, the Trent is the right back. I mean, if you look at where Bradley was today, I mean, he was in midfield a lot. I mean, yeah, look at positioning of, Bradley, and you can see, and you got the the overlaps. There were a lot of balls. Bradley had a really good game. Don't get me wrong, but a couple of those balls that he put into the box when he had like that overlap run, I mean, let's face it, more than likely, if Trent is getting those opportunities with his quality, as good as Bradley is, we know Trent is on a different level. I think he will basically be getting an assist out of one of those.
Yeah, and I think, flipping it to the other side for a moment, someone else that might benefit from this a little bit, and maybe depends on how much gas he has left, but Robertson, I think, could flourish really well in the system as well, because some of those runs that Costas was making, and they weren't overlaps. They were breaking the lines in between the winger and the forward. And I thought that some of those spaces would be exactly Robertson peak of what we saw, 4 or 5 years ago. Those would be the perfect moments for him to be there. So if he has as much gas as he has left in the tank, I think that'll be another exciting thing to see. Build Klopp a statue is asking, so what midfield three would you guys go with versus Ipswich if we don't make signings until then? They're going with Mecca, Sobo, and Harvey. I guess, Jersey, let me ask you. I know we're a few weeks away still, but any initial thoughts of what you would want that midfield to look like?
Maka, Jones, hopefully if he's fit, and Elliot.
Yeah.
So Szoboszlai, I'm still on the
Dude,
fence.
he works so hard off the ball. He gets so much crap. I thought he worked so hard.
I'm trying not
off
to
the
give
ball
him
today.
credit.
I think he had some lazy passes, but he did work really hard off the ball, and he had the match winner, technically speaking.
I don't see how he knocks Jones or Elliot out, and I think Maka's cemented in that midfield.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I guess this will start sort of wrapping up a little bit here. I was going to ask you each one positive thing you took away from today and one negative thing you took away from today. And Simichin, I'll start with you.
Nioni, obvious answer probably, but I just liked how that's, that we saw it. We saw the future a little bit. Like, we did see a difference. It wasn't the same old. We saw what was on the way. Liverpool Shavy says that, yes. I mean, this is, like Thiago heaven. If Thiago is there, like, this is perfect for him. Exactly. I do, because that's the kind of player you need. And that brings to my negative. I just don't see how Endo fits this midfield now, having seen this. But I'm still not sending him to Bundesliga like somebody was doing earlier. I think he still is on there as your defensive midfielder when you just need solidity and more like defensive stability. But honestly, he wasn't even bad that way today, like in terms of like overrunning balls and stuff like that, getting like past and stuff. But you can kind of give that to, there's a lot of overload going on, especially for an old guy who's practicing like basically over the top right now. They're not going to practice like that during the season. So you can give that to that, but I just don't feel like it fits his style. So I'm kind of lost on where he fits.
And Gordo also, this is in regards to Szoboszlai, I imagine he makes our team so much better looking too. And, those points count for something. Serzi, one positive and one negative for today.
The positive, the defense.
By the way, that's why we have Metoish on American Scouts. That's the only reason.
Evidently, because it's not for my hosting skills.
I think the defense was unscathed. They didn't really look in too much trouble. Anything that did come past them, they handled quite well, even with Jarrison goal. Negativity, I guess the negativity would be Gravenberch and Gomez not cutting their vacation short and joining up.
That's nothing that we learned today, though. We knew that.
Yeah,
already.
well, I learned they're not 100% committed to the course.
And
You've got a new manager you want to impress.
That's true. No, and I think you guys touched on in the pre-match that it would have been nice to have them come back and show a little bit more fight, a little bit more gusto, if you will. Gordo, if we do sign Kubo, Endo might be the best locker room guy to have in-house to make the adjustment. And I guess that the only thing then really quick, maybe one of the last things we talk about is given how we saw today go and our limited exposure to Kubo, I think in a way, seeing how he plays at Sociedad and kind of understanding what kind of player he's been over the last 6-7 years, I don't think it was too crazy of a rumor to go out there, given what he would give this team in this setup. So I don't know if you guys thought of if there were any names of players specifically that we may have been looking at that you thought of during the game, thinking they would suit in here perfectly. Maybe like Anthony Gordon. I don't know. He seems like someone that could really take advantage of that left side, and if he wanted to.
Just that's too many left side, man. Like that.
I know.
Go. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I keep hearing the Zubimendi name, and that's the only reason. Like, if you just ask me, I wouldn't be like Zubimendi. But you know, when people mention it, yes, it makes sense. Because you do need a Thiago-like Spanish dude.
So Bajcetic in like 3 years.
Yes, I mean, if Bajcetic was in good shape, actually, he did show some strength towards the end too in like one of those tackles. But I just don't know if he's going to be reliable injury wise. But yeah, or I mean, you don't necessarily have to go, and when you filter your available player searches, you don't have to necessarily do CDM in the system. You can get a CM who similar. You can get a player similar to McAllister and then have another McAllister on your roster. I know they don't grow on trees, but you know, have that profile player who may not be defensive midfielder when you first hear of him, but can do that role and actually win balls, but distribute balls and play in tight spaces.
There probably is a specific tree in Argentina where some of these guys do grow. Let's be honest. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us for the first post-match show of the slot era. Hopefully many more clean sheets to come. This was a nice sign. If anything, I'm glad it wasn't a 7-5 or 4-3 or whatever other silly prediction was put out there before the match. So from everyone here at American Scouser, thank you guys so much for joining. Catch us next time, which is going to be Monday morning. With Timothy and I. So if you enjoyed this, by God, will you enjoy Monday morning? So thank you, everyone. And until next time, we are American Scouser, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.